everybody, Stippling Vaughn, and we're changing things up. We're not going to be streaming from the bar anymore. A lot of people on Twitter and on YouTube are getting struck from background music. Because there's always background music and it's quite loud at the bar, I don't want to get struck. So I'm going to be streaming now from home when I do these videos. When I get done streaming, I'll then be going to the bar to do more work because I get my work done there. I'm comfortable there. As you can see, I've added the Wraith up here, and I've added the werewolves. Okay, the werewolves, I drew them up big. You saw them in the last video how big it was and how I was going to shrink them down. I shrunk them down, then light boxed them onto the board here, so that way you have the Wraith, and you can see how I've got him set up. So he's going at the edge of the rock face, cliff, whatever you want to call it, and he's shooting, he's fending for his life. No, I haven't finished the guns yet. So I got one werewolf's been shot, got another one, and I got two others charging. I originally had this guy here, so he's like really been threatening, like really like about to dive on him. But then I was like, it's too cluttered, and it takes away from the impact of this one getting shot. So I took this one, erased him, and pushed him back. Again, that's a nice thing about working with a light box, is you can then decide how you're going to do things. Now, I still have work to do on the two faces. I'm going to be adding clothes to them, like I'm going to have pants on him and have like a handkerchief on him, maybe, I don't know, maybe suspenders on this one, just to show that they were humans, and then when they turn the werewolves, they rip their clothes and all. So, but we're going to have fun with that. So as you can see, I've been working heavily on this. You can see where I got the work done on the handkerchief around his neck, and this time. So right now I'm working on here, and I'm probably going to be working up here. So, but this is a different working here at home. I don't normally work at home. I don't normally ink at home, I should say. So we'll see how it goes. But okay, don't have enough ink on the nib. There we go. We got ink on the nib now. So this week, Nick Rekieta had Kyle on. He was on Tuesday night, and it was really good to see Nick having Kyle on Nick's show. Kyle's court case was a big deal, and to have Kyle on Nick's show when that case really put LawTube on the map. Now, LawTube severely increased with the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case, but really where we had as a society our eyes opened was the Kyle Rittenhouse case. We saw the facts. We saw, and we were exposed to how the media, how they tell their side of the story, and they want you to believe it. Kyle even relayed his experiences since then, how his girlfriend was at a photo shoot, and I guess the makeup artist was black, and how he had to re-educate her because the only thing she knew of what happened was from the trial, and he had to explain to her, no, I didn't kill any black people, and I really explained everything to her, and how her eyes opened. She apologized to him. Really big deal, showing how the media manipulates the facts to tell what the story that they want to. It was very good interview. It was, I will admit, it was awkward at times. There were a lot of, it was clunky at times the way it was going. But overall, I thought it was a great interview. Again, it really brought to light certain things, how there was a coffee company called Black Rifle Coffee, and how there was an issue with them. I guess so, like Kyle was uh, wearing a Black Rifle Coffee T-shirt, and the Black Rifle Coffee didn't have a problem with him wearing the T-shirt, but the banks that finance that they do their money through, they had a problem. Black Rifle Company had to come forward with a statement, and that's wrong. Okay, that okay. If your bank is gonna say we are no longer going to do business with you because of this, that, and the other thing, and they're going to dictate the terms of you doing business. Remember, the only reason why the bank is there is they rely on customers. Black Rifle Coffee Company is their customer. Okay, Black Rifle Company, as far as I'm concerned, as soon as they found out, they should have started shopping around for a new bank, and basically went to their bank and said nope. And then after they're done, they should have They made the statement they had to. They should have flat out said that the reason why they were making that statement was because of the bank. Then they should have gone out shopping for a new bank, and then when they're done shopping for the bank, they should have made an announcement. We are no longer doing our business through this bank because they were dictating the terms in which we conduct business. Okay, that is wrong. That is so wrong. We live in a free market. That means when you are going to be told that by a financial institution, find yourself a new financial institution. I have no problem with leaving my financial institution for another financial institution because we're a free market. And trust me, there's other banks like, we want your business. You're doing X amount a year. We're going to be taking X amount of money away from our competition. Hell yeah, we want you. And so for me, it really comes down to that is horrible that the bank is doing that, especially when we have an economy on the downside. Banks need to be doing everything to keep their customers. I remember in 2008, okay, when the bubble burst on the real estate market, and everybody was losing their jobs. And I remember there were banks that went out of business. A perfect example is Wachovia was a strong bank. First Union, or what was it? Wells Fargo was a weak bank. Wells Fargo bought Wachovia for their name, and then just basically turned all the Wachovias into them, and that was wrong. So many banks went out of business. But I remember Charles Barkley, who has ties to various banks in the South. And he was interviewed, and he flat out goes, hey, it's a free market. One bank closes, there's another bank that'll take your business. Only the strong survive. And I say that the bank that the Black Rifle Company is going through, they need to find themselves in another bank, because that bank is weak. And they need Black Rifle Coffee more than Black Rifle Coffee needs them. There are plenty of banks for them to do business with, and they really should be looking at another company. Now, Nick was absolutely right when he was talking to Kyle, and he goes, Kyle, if you'd come to me right after the trial, I could have gotten you 1 million subscribers, this, that, and the other thing. And now Kyle's got to fight for it. And Kyle kind of agreed with him. And Kyle's learned real quick how when you're in the limelight, there's a lot of people that say they want to take care of you, but they just want to take care of themselves. Whereas Nick was flat out going, dude, I don't want anything for you. I applaud you, what you did. Let me help you out. Okay? And it was even brought up in the interview, which none of us really knew, is that during the breaks and during lunches, Kyle was going and looking at Nick Rekieta's streams to see how him and all the other lawyers were reacting which we didn't know about. That is awesome. I mean, none of us knew that. We all thought that he was living in a little bubble. For us to now know that we were on his side, and he had that support through Nick Rekieta's channel and all the law tuber lawyers that were going on Nick's channel. I say to Kyle, start streaming. Start streaming. One thing I would, to help you out so you can feel, I guess, to help you out with streaming, get yourself comfortable with doing live streams, is reach out to all those lawyers, okay, who really got their start showing up on Nick's channel. One perfect example is Good Logic, or Good Logic, L-A-W instead of L-O-G, Joe. He was a big supporter of Kyle, and I remember when the not guilty verdict was coming through. I remember Joe being, yes, and I remember he had a pen or something. He tossed in the air and snatched it, going, yes, he's got his life. This kid has got his life back now. And he was so ecstatic. And it was soon after the Kyle Rittenhouse trial that, as far as I know, because I couldn't find him, when I was going through the trial, I tried to find Joe Logic. He was pushing, when he was on Nick's stream, he was like, I'm on locals. Soon after that, I found him on YouTube. I don't know whether it was soon after that trial that he'd started his YouTube channel, or whether it was after the trial his YouTube channel became more prominent. But he would definitely be someone who would love to be on your show, and he would help you out with advice on the air in front of everybody, going, this is what you do. Why? Because most of the stuff that he's going to be telling Kyle is stuff that he learned from Nick, and he learned from streaming. So I say to Kyle, and I am going to tag Kyle on this video, kind of hope he does see it, but I hope that he reaches out to those law tubers. Branko's another one. I'd love to see him on Kyle's show, because remember, he has a book called The Art of Self-Defense. I believe it's called The Art of Self-Defense. I'm not sure if that's the actual title or not. It's a free book. You reach out to him. He has it available for you to order for free, and he does seminars for lawyers, and it's open to the general public. So if you yourself are a regular individual and you want to learn about not just what you need to do in dealing with the law if you have had to take another life, and he would be another person who'd be ideal to be on Kyle's show. And I hope Kyle reaches out, and from there Kyle can network and get on to other shows. He can start getting other people onto his show and start building his channel and start taking care of himself. That way he's not relying on just doing appearances and doing speaking engagements. He will discover from streaming how he can grow not just his brand, but grow as a speaker. Because one of the things I saw when he was streaming with Nick was he did a lot of like taking his hands and covering his face. And you don't do that type of stuff. You don't cover your face while you're streaming. If you're streaming by yourself, you watch the chat. But if you're on someone else's show, just focus on that person and what they're saying. Don't be reading the various chats from the various streams. That's one of the reasons why it was kind of clunky. Was you could see that Kyle was focusing more on the chat and what the chat was saying than what Nick was saying. When you're on a show with someone else, you focus on what the other person is saying. I know I am somewhat guilty of that. If anybody watches me on Danger Vanessa's show, the chat, there are times I go and I read the chat which I really shouldn't be doing. I should be focusing on the other members of the show and then going in and commenting on it with them instead of focusing on the chat. Uh, it's thing is though is when you're on someone's show, it's so and they're speaking. It's so easy to just go over and start looking at what the chat's saying, but it's a distraction. It's a distraction because remember, the chat is there because of you. So you want to entertain the chat. You can always go back through later on and read what the chat's saying because you can always rewatch it and just focus on what the chat's then saying. But I would always say if Kyle is it's like something I'm learning because I don't stream that much. The only time I show up is on Danger Vanessa's stream. I'm very fortunate that she has me on her stream, and I'm very grateful for it. But I need to, when I'm on her show, I need to be putting all my attention on what she is, the content she's providing, what she's saying, and commenting on it, and what the subject is, and let her focus on the chat. Um, it's something that's hard to learn, but it's like anything else. Over time, you discover and you learn those disciplines. So, the piece that I'm working on here, I didn't say at the beginning, is the art. I'm sorry, not the art contest for Aaron Lepresti's Wraith of God, Blood Hunters campaign, and this is what I'm working on. I will have the link in the description so you can go. I would encourage you. Anybody who's a fan of Kyle and you want a good comic book to entertain yourself or just a good story, Aaron Lepresti is doing what's called his Wraith of God series. It's about a cowboy in the West with his secretary slash assistant, and they fight werewolves, vampires. The first book, which is available and is going to be coming out as a second chance campaign for you to get, it is where they fight werewolves, and in his current book, which is the middle of funding, is the Blood Hunters. And if you go to the campaign on Indiegogo through this link, it is a book that's being shadow banned. So the only way you can really get it, so if you just search Indiegogo, it doesn't come up. But if you use the link in the description here, it'll take you to that campaign. And in that campaign, you'll see the various covers. And he's got the Wraith of God fighting women vampires, scantily clad women vampires, yeah. And then on top of that, we've got the Wraith fighting the master vampire. And it looks really good. I would encourage anybody who is watching this for the first time, who's a fan of Nick Rekieta's or a fan of Kyle, to go check it out. Okay? So, like I said, I really hope that Kyle, moving forward, continues just... And Kyle, if you're listening to this, I all I do is I put my phone over my drawing. I have a little stand. I just mount it, and I start working. I just go in here and I just talk while I'm stippling, and I have fun. I've got a ways to go with streaming, but if you wait until everything's perfect to start streaming, you're never going to stream. Okay? Just start streaming. Okay? Just start up the StreamYards, open up the show and just start talking. Whether you're talking about your life and what you went through, or whether you're just talking about the weather, or you have a guest on, just start talking. Always, if you're going before you start your show, do some research. Perfect example is, and I'll show you guys. I have notes here. Okay, I took notes on Kyle and Nick, and I wrote them down so that way I've got talking points while I'm talking to you. And you don't see it, but every once in a while I just look over to the side and I see, okay, this is the next talking point. And just go from there. But you got to just start streaming. Just start streaming. Okay? If you wait till you think, oh, it has to be right. Oh, I have to make sure I have the thumbnail right. I have to make sure this is right and that's right. If you wait, you've waited too long. Just start streaming. Okay? So, Kyle, I do hope that you see this so you can understand what you mean to us, because you showed so much control. First of all these people who have been, that are against you, okay? For you to be in that situation, to have to defend your life. And that was another thing that also came out in the interview, was how vicious the attacks were just before you had to pull the trigger. How many times you were hit in the head. And okay, all these people, they're like, oh, and like he shouldn't have been there. And basically all the people that are against the Second Amendment and what you had to do to defend your life. Okay, if they were in that situation and they had a gun in their hands, they just would have been firing blindly and killing a lot of people. He had the self-discipline to simply turn that weapon on the immediate threat at the person that was specifically harming him. He wasn't harming everybody that was coming to him. He was specifically going and defending himself at the immediate threat of the person that was physically threatening him, and he used that weapon to defend his life. Okay? Okay? Anybody else who doesn't know how to use a firearm, okay, they would have blah, 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 and they would have shot like 8 people or more. Okay? He took out the immediate threat to defend his life, which is one of the reasons why we have the Second Amendment, is to defend ourselves. Remember, the Second Amendment came because we were being oppressed by the British government, and we had to give the rights to every single individual in our country, the right to defend themselves from the British. Why? Because the British were taking action to take away our rights. That's the reason why we had the Second Amendment, was because we had to give the people the right to defend themselves, because the British were taking away our guns. And they're saying, no, you can't defend yourselves. Why? They're oppressing us. And you think about it, the people who want to take away our guns now, why do they want to? Because they want to oppress us, and they want to tell us what is right and wrong. Okay, and they want to harm us in so many different ways. And they're looking at the Second Amendment as an obstacle against how they want us to live and how us to think, and basically take away our right to defend ourselves. Yes, there's a difference between defending yourself verbally and defending yourself physically. But we have to have the ability to protect ourselves with that Second Amendment. And like I said, the control he showed that night with that weapon, the control he then showed on the stand against Little Binger. Okay. I applaud him and I respect him. Remember, Kyle, life is stressful. You take one dot at a time, like I do, you'll be okay. And lastly, dude, you came up on top. You went through something none of us should ever have to go through. But you came out on top strong. And you earned my respect. And one thing no one can buy is your respect. That is something that you earn through your actions. And your actions that night, during the trial, since that trial, you earned my respect. guys. Like I said, life is stressful. Just take it all one dot at a time.